Heartwarming moment, Black Maid shields billionaire father discover the incredible life-changing transformation. Clara stood in the expansive Harrington kitchen, its gleaming countertops reflecting the bright afternoon sun. Today should have been filled with laughter and the delightful smells of a holiday meal, pineapple glazed ham and homemade coleslaw, but the air felt thick with tension. Whispers swept through the town like wildfire, igniting distrust and discomfort. All eyes were on the Harringtons, once revered as the benevolent giants of Willow Creek, now positioned as targets of outrage over their father's business dealings. Despite the chaos on the outside, Clara's heart ached for the children she'd raised, the bright-eyed Lucy and her mischievous brother, Max. They were her world, gifts born from love and hope, and she'd fiercely defended them from every storm life's thrown their way. Just 3 days ago, Thomas Harrington had been the father figure they admired. Today, he was suddenly demonized. As the sun began to set, casting deep shadows on the porch, Clara felt that familiar tug at her heartstrings, the battle of allegiance between her loyalty to the Harringtons and the community she belonged to, a community struggling to catch even a sliver of the wealth surrounding them. Lucy danced by her side, cheeks flushed with excitement. "Miss Clara, will you watch the fireworks with us tonight?" she chirped, her innocence a painful reminder of the fragile world they lived in. Clara forced a smile, but the ache in her chest grew heavier. The 4th of July wasn't just a celebration, it carried the weight of dreams and disappointments within her own life. Then, the painful truth collided with her world. Moments later, she stumbled upon a group of protesters, voices raised in fury against Thomas Harrington's name. It broke Clara's heart to witness the anger, voices echoing through the space she'd come to know as home. Yet, as she spotted Lucy and Max, faces filled with confusion, she felt an urgency to protect them. "Stay close," she commanded, her instincts kicking in as she maneuvered through the throng. Before she could shield them, a voice shrieked, "Your father thinks he's above us. The rich get richer while we suffer." Clara's breath hitched, and she felt the heat of the onlookers' gaze razor sharp. Fueled by fear and love, she stepped closer to the Harringtons, raising her hands to calm the crowd. "Please, listen. The children are just kids." She took the brunt of their frustration, feeling the heat of their anger wash over her. Loyalty or justice, a decision boiled within her, shaking her resolve. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As fireworks lit the evening sky, vibrant colors exploded overhead, mirrored only by the tempest raging inside Clara. She realized this holiday, once about independence, had morphed into an urgent call for change. Clara faced the children, her heart thumping furiously. Would she uphold the image of loyal Maid or rise against the inequalities of her town? The roar of the crowd echoed in her ears as she stood at the crossroads, contemplating the pathways to justice and the cost of silence. In that moment, under the bright glimmering lights, she knew she had to make a choice. Clara's heart raced, and for the first time, she felt the thrilling rush of empowerment. What would she choose? Would it be loyalty or the fight for dignity? As the final firework fizzled out, she took her first steps toward a decision that could change everything. Clara felt a surge of determination as the last firework vanished into the night. She glanced at Lucy and Max, their innocent faces illuminated by the fading glow, and realized the weight of her choice was not just about her. It was about them. Their future. As the murmurs of the crowd blended into a tangled chorus of anger and hurt, she took a deep breath and pressed forward. "Enough!" she called out, her voice breaking through the noise. The crowd stilled, a moment of surprise hanging in the air. Clara's heart pounded as each eye shifted to her, reading the emotion etched on her face. "You call for justice, but this isn't the way." Hurt will only bring more hurt. The silence felt heavy, as if the world were holding its breath. She had always been one to blend into the background, the loyal maid who was never meant to be in the spotlight. Yet, here she was, standing tall in defiance of fury. Thomas Harrington is a flawed man, yes. But in this moment, he is also a father. Like the fathers and brothers in this crowd, he loves. Let us not forget our humanity. Some in the crowd huffed, discomfort rippling through them. Clara could see glares chilling her spine, but she pressed on. We're all struggling. I see you, every day, doing your best. But fighting against each other will only keep us divided. We need to stand together. A flicker of recognition passed through a few faces, but the tension lingered. Clara's heart raced, her mind flooded with memories of the countless nights spent nurturing the children, sharing laughter that filled the home with light. That laughter hadn't come easily to her either. It came from a place of overcoming hardship. Suddenly, Lucy tugged at Clara's skirt, her tiny voice breaking through. Miss Clara, we love you. We want to help. Max chimed in, yeah. Let us tell the people what we all can do together. Their pure, heartfelt intentions melted the edges of Clara's fear, helping her shift her focus. What do you say? She asked the crowd, searching their eyes for a flicker of hope. Let us start a conversation today. One person in the front raised an eyebrow, slow to respond. A conversation? He echoed, uncertain. While we fight to expose the corruption? Yes, Clara said firmly, and expose how that corruption has hurt all of us. There is so much we can do, but we can't do it alone. Thomas still has a voice. Let us make sure he hears us and we hear each other. From the back, a woman stepped forward, tears brimming in her eyes. What if he doesn't care? She shouted, vulnerability threading through her anger. Clara took a step toward her, a silent plea asking for understanding. What if he does? What if he can be part of the change? And in that instant, something in the crowd began to shift. People muttered among themselves, some nodding slowly as they mulled Clara's words over. A small flame of hope sparked in Clara's heart. She could feel their walls of anger cracking, just enough to peek through the other side, towards something better. The night stretched on as Clara stood her ground, her resolve firm as she addressed her neighbors. She knew change would be slow, painful even. But the glimmers of understanding she witnessed today charged her with optimism. As she turned back to Lucy and Max, she felt a rush of warmth. Who knows, this might be the start of something different. But as fireworks lit the sky once more, a showcase of colors and light, Clara wondered if the anger would once again rise, or would this moment blossom into an opportunity for unity. With the future uncertain but a flicker of hope ignited, Clara whispered to herself, change starts with us. What if just one conversation could lead to a revolution of understanding? As she glanced back at the crowd, she felt her heart race. Could they find the courage to meet her halfway? Clara stood in the center of the crowd, still buzzing with hope. Those at the edges, faces twisted in doubt, hadn't been convinced yet. She could almost feel their eyes digging into her, searching, weighted with years of anger and frustration. It made her heart ache, knowing she sought unity while they battled deep-seated pain. Let us come together. Clara's voice carried, rising above the murmurs. We've all felt the sting of betrayal, but hurting each other won't heal those wounds. What if we instead focused on mending what has been broken? Behind her, Lucy and Max watched with wide eyes, emboldened but also nervous. Clara felt a surge of protectiveness wash over her. Those kiddos were the reason she drew strength from right now. Their smiles were the beacon guiding her through the uncertainty. One man in the front, rugged and weary, shook his head. What if he just laughs at our attempts? What if this is just a waste of time? His voice cracked, showing layers of hurt. Clara took a bold step forward, acknowledging his pain. What if he doesn't? What if he really listens? We can't know unless we try. Let us put aside our fears. Together we can create change. A woman near the front spoke up softly. What do you suggest we do? Just sit across the table and talk. Yes. Clara exclaimed, surprised at her own passion. But let us do more than that. We must show him we can unify in our desires and work as one. A kind of community council, where we lift each other up. In the shadows, people glanced at one another, surprised at the idea. Imagine, Clara continued, her voice growing louder as she fed off their hesitant interest. Imagine a place where every one of us sits down with Thomas, where our fears and hopes are laid bare. Where he has to confront the truth of the pain his actions have caused. It was as if a pulse of energy went through the crowd. Clara watched hopeful glimmers appear on faces that had been so tense moments ago. The man who had doubted before repeated her words under his breath. A council? Could that actually work? Yes. Clara cried. We make it work. Everyone here contributes their thoughts, their experiences. Just because we've been hurt doesn't mean we can't turn around and lift one another up. Let us make it clear that we won't let history repeat itself. Together. Lucy, filled with excitement, bounced on her feet. Can we really do it, Miss Clara? She beamed, jumping in place as if she could barely contain the joy within. It's possible, my sweet girl, Clara replied, knelt down to look into her eyes. It might even be transformative. Count me in. Max shouted. His enthusiasm sparked laughter in the crowd, slowly weaving through the tension. More smiles began to form. Clara stood back up, a surge of courage running through her. If we want Thomas Harrington to listen, we have to show that we deserve that seat at the table. That we are human. What if today marked a turning point? Clara dared to dream that way. Just as she felt a wave of unity wash over her, she saw a figure emerge from the back of the gathering. Thomas Harrington himself, uncertainty shadowing his eyes, pushing through the throng. Clara's breath hitched. This was it. He had heard them. But would he stand with them, or would he turn away again? Her heart raced, the crowd falling silent as he approached. Would this be the moment everything changed? Clara's heart pounded in her chest, an unexpected rush of emotions washing over her. Thomas Harrington, the man whose decisions had fractured their community, was now standing inches away. The crowd shifted, eyes darting between Clara and Thomas, whispering in anxious anticipation. Clara, Thomas said, his voice low but steady. The tension hung between them like a fragile thread. I didn't come here to confront anyone. I came to listen. At his words, Clara felt a spark ignite within her. Was this the moment they'd been dreaming of? She took a breath, her fingers flexing at her sides. Then listen, she urged, voice firm and soft all at once. Listen to our stories. Listen to our pain. A murmur swept through the crowd, a mix of surprise and cautious optimism. They had always imagined this confrontation, but now that it was happening, the reality felt surreal. Clara shifted slightly, motioning the group to draw closer. Thomas stared at the hopeful faces and finally nodded. All right. I'm here. His expression was unreadable, but his body language seemed to relax just a fraction. What do you want to say? Clara felt the crushing weight of expectation, but alongside it, a sense of resolve. We want to share our experiences. It's not just about you and us. It's about our community. We need to rebuild trust and mend the bridges that were burned. One by one, voices began to rise from the crowd. People shared stories of lost jobs, broken families, shattered dreams that had once flourished in the stability Harrington's father had taken for granted. Each testimony cut deep, each expression of anguish bringing the community closer together. Thomas, you might think your decisions didn't hurt us, a woman finally called out, tears shimmering in her eyes. But families were torn apart because of them. Children missed out on opportunities. This is real. You standing here is a step, but we need more than words. Clara could feel the energy shift. It wasn't enough just to speak, there was a heartbeat, a pulsing insistence that surged through the gathering. Thomas's face morphed from uncertainty to a deep contemplation. I had no idea. I thought you thought we'd just fall in line. Clara asked, her heart racing again. It doesn't work that way anymore. We want to work with you, but we need to be part of the decision-making. Silence fell, punctuated only by the few sobs and shudders of emotion rippling through the crowd. Thomas inhaled sharply, the gravity of their words enveloping him. If that's what you need, then I'm willing to hear you out. But can we find a way to do this together? How can I help you? A flicker of hope sparked again among the people surrounding Clara. Lucy and Max exchanged wide-eyed glances, the meaning of the moment beginning to dawn on them. Clara smiled, inspired by bursts of courage from those around her. Let us form a council, Clara suggested, her pulse racing. We can work together to ensure no one falls through the cracks anymore. A shimmer of agreement flickered in the crowd, eyes lighting up with possibilities that had felt so far away moments ago. Before anyone could answer, the atmosphere shifted. A nearby voice broke through the moment, the voice of dissent. You think it's that simple? A man yelled, anger lacing his words. How can we trust him? Clara's stomach knotted. As the crowd murmured, a fresh wave of uncertainty washed over her. Her head spun, caught between the rising tide of hope and the weight of fear that still lingered. But would the fragile bridge they had begun to build hold through the fierce winds of skepticism? Would Thomas stand firm, or would he crumble under pressure? As Clara looked into the eyes of those around her, she knew one thing above all else: this was only the beginning. The real battle for their future awaited them. What would it take to transform doubt into belief? Let us start with a plan, Clara said, her voice cutting through the noise. She could feel the weight of the community's eyes on her, each gaze holding a mix of skepticism and hope. A council means more than just talking. It means action, transparency, and commitment. Do you want to move forward? The man who had voiced doubt crossed his arms, a storm brewing behind his narrowed eyes. You think a bunch of words will fix everything? Trust isn't built overnight. I know that, Clara replied, her heart racing as she fought to hold on to the moment. But if we don't start somewhere, we'll stay lost in the pain forever. Think about it, what other choices do we have? A ripple of conversation followed her plea. Clara could see that some wanted to believe, while others were still weighed down by doubt. Frustration and hope danced in the air, creating a tempest of emotions. Thomas adjusted his posture, leaning slightly towards the crowd, inviting interaction with his presence. I get it. Trust is hard to come by, especially after everything that has happened. But standing here, I want to prove that I'm willing to listen. Let us be real, I may not know what all of you have gone through, but I want to understand. I'm willing to commit to this council. The man who had challenged him scoffed, disbelief etched across his face. Commitment means sacrifice, Harrington. Your family has never done that for this community. The tension was palpable, and Clara's stomach twisted again. She took a step closer to Thomas, wanting to create a united front. But this is different. This is not about legacy or family names. This is about real lives. Suddenly, Lucy stepped forward, her hands trembling but her voice steady. I took a risk when I opened a small business in this town. It thrived until decisions from the Harringtons forced my doors to close. I lost everything. But I want to give this a chance. We need to put emotions aside and see if we can create something new. As Clara looked around, she saw heads nodding. Faith flickered in some eyes, slowly replacing the fear. If we can get honest about what we need and what has been hurting us, we might come out stronger. We can't change the past, but we can build a future. Thomas's gaze softened and he nodded slowly. Then let us make this council representative. I want each of you to help shape this. I will support it, but I need your voices. Clara felt the momentum shift. The smell of rain wafted through the air, a cleansing scent symbolizing the hope of renewal. Let us have a meeting next week. Everyone who wants to be involved, create a space where we can gather and start thinking about changes. We need your ideas, your heart, and your will. What if it goes nowhere? Someone shouted from the back. Then we'll know, Clara said firmly, trying to infuse her answer with strength. But at least we tried something. At least we fought for this community. The crowd was charged now, alive with possibilities as they whispered among themselves. It was like watching the dawning light of hope push through the clouds. I'll be there, Lucy declared, raising her hand high. One by one, others joined her, fingers stretching up, determination written across their faces. Clara felt a swelling inside her. This was what they had dreamed of, people uniting to reclaim their town, their lives, but just as Clara began to hope that they had turned a corner, her heart dropped as Thomas spoke again, his voice cracking through the tension. And if I falter, if I let you down, then we'll call you out, a voice rang clear, full of assurance. But you have to hold up your end too. We aren't doing this just to give you a free pass. The collective murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd once more, hardening resolve. Clara took a step back, breathless with emotion. They were standing at the brink of something huge, but would Thomas follow through when things got tough? Could they transform doubt into belief and create lasting change? With hope blooming in her heart like a wildflower, she prepared to discover which path they would ultimately take. Standing firm in the unknown that lay ahead. The following week arrived quicker than Clara expected. Her heart pounded with anticipation as she prepared for the meeting. The community center, usually too quiet, buzzed with energy, chairs scraping against the floor, voices rising, laughter mingling with uncertainty. She could hardly believe the turnout. As she stood at the front of the room, looking over the faces filled with a mix of hope and apprehension, she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. This was it. They were here, ready to build a future together. Thank you all for coming, Clara said, her voice steady, even though her heart raced. She could see Thomas in the back, leaning against the wall with a thoughtful expression. Today, we're going to share ideas and experiences. Let us focus on what we need, what we want, and how we can work together. The air crackled with a strange confidence, a collective energy that inspired her. Lucy was there too, perched on the edge of her seat, her eyes sparkling with determination. Clara could tell she was ready to jump in at any moment. Let us start with what we've been struggling with, Clara suggested. Who wants to share first? The moment hung there, suspended in time, until a woman named Rachel stood up. She looked tired but resolute, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. I'm a single mom. I've been working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. After what happened, things only got tougher. We need jobs, real jobs that pay enough for people to live on. Nods of agreement washed across the room. Clara felt fire ignite within her. Exactly, she responded. That is something we can work on as a council, jobs and opportunities. We can reach out to local businesses. Build partnerships. Lucy jumped in next, her voice passionate. And we need to put our money where our mouths are. If we can create a community fund to support local businesses, invest in families, and prioritize our own growth, we'll make something real. The ideas flowed, quick and vibrant, each voice more empowered than the last. Clara listened, guiding the conversation like a conductor leading a symphony. There was energy, connection, and possibility filling the space, but then the room quieted as Thomas finally stepped forward, the shadows of doubt still lingering in his eyes. I want to say something. I know I come from a different world. He paused, swallowing hard. I know I've made mistakes, and it's going to take more than just words to mend things. But I'm here to offer support, a way to connect you to resources that can help. Rachel opened her mouth, irritation brewing. What does that even mean for us? We've heard it before. Just words. That's fair, Thomas replied, his voice steady but vulnerable. But I ask for a chance for action. I want to be accountable. I want to work beside you. Please let me show that I'm committed to real change. The tension hung thick in the air, and Clara's heart raced again. This was a pivotal moment. Would they take the chance to see if Thomas could follow through? Let us work out a plan together, Clara suggested, the weight of the room pressing against her. If we believe in him, we should support him too. But he has to earn our trust. Propose timelines, measurable goals. Warnings if things seem to falter. It'll be our council, our community. Do you really think he'll come through when it counts? Someone asked, voice laced with skepticism. Clara looked around, meeting the eyes of her neighbors. This was more than about Thomas, it was about them each other. If we can't trust, then we'll never heal. But if we try, the possibilities are endless. Let us be bold. Let us take this chance. As she spoke, she felt a flicker of something hope forging itself in the fire of doubt. Could they all come together, embracing vulnerability with courage? But then, just as the heaviness gave way to light, the doors swung open. A group of newcomers stepped in, faces shadowed with intentions yet unknown. Clara's breath caught in her throat, the question echoing in her mind: who were they, and how would their arrival change everything? The newcomers stepped into the room with a quiet intensity that immediately shifted the atmosphere. Clara could feel her heart race as all eyes turned toward them. A man stepped forward, a broad-shouldered figure with salt and pepper hair. His expression was stern yet somehow vulnerable, as if he'd been weathered by storms they could only imagine. Behind him, a woman with a determined look clutched a worn leather book against her chest. Clara's stomach twisted. They had come for something, and she feared what it might be. "Excuse us for interrupting," the man said, his voice deep and resonant. "We heard there was a gathering here today." He paused, scanning the room as if trying to gauge the temperature of the crowd, before continuing. "I'm David. This is my partner, Maya. We want to help." A murmur rippled through the attendees. Clara could feel the tension rise, questions forming unspoken in the air. "Help how?" Someone snapped from the back of the room, a cynicism lacing their tone that she felt mirrored her own apprehensions. David met the challenge head-on. "We want to offer financial support and resources to this community. I've seen the struggle firsthand, and enough is enough. We can't ignore the needs of this town any longer." Rachel crossed her arms, her skepticism clearly etched on her face. "And why should we believe you? What do you know about struggling?" Maya stepped forward, her voice soft yet unfaltering. "I grew up here. I'm from this town," she said, gesturing to the familiar walls around them. "I understand. And together, we want to build something meaningful. Not just give handouts, but create sustainable opportunities." Clara noticed the way David's eyes flickered between the community members. He had something to prove, and she sensed a genuine urgency beneath his tough exterior. "What do you have in mind?" Clara asked, finding her voice amidst the thunder of skepticism swirling around her. "We can start by establishing workshops," David explained, gaining momentum. "Skill-building classes, help small businesses grow, mentorship programs. We can invest in local developments. But we need your guidance. We can't do this without you." Hope flickered in the room like a candle igniting in the dark. Clara traded glances with Lucy, they both felt the possibilities hanging in the air. But Rachel wasn't convinced. "How can we trust you?" she pressed. "What if you abandon us when we need you most?" Clara knew this was the crux of the matter. "We need to hold each other accountable," she interjected. "If we're going to work together, we must set clear expectations. Timelines, goals, consequences if things don't work." The air thickened again. Just when it seemed like the room might close in on itself, David nodded. "Absolutely, Clara. Accountability goes both ways. We'll contribute, but we want to ensure you're part of this process. There was a moment, an electric pause, where Clara felt her heart swell. This could be the bridge to something greater. Could this be what they were looking for? But then, breaking the hopeful spell, the door swung open again. A tall figure stood silhouetted against the blinding light from outside, casting a long shadow into the room. Clara squinted, her breath hitching in her throat. This new presence felt heavier than the crowd's anticipation. As the figure stepped forward, a dreadful recognition washed over her. The expression on his face was unreadable, but there was an unmistakable connection to their past, a name she had hoped would never come back around. "Clara," he said softly, a word heavy with untold stories. Panic clawed at her throat. How had he found them? What would this mean for the fragile beginnings they just started to build? Clara glanced around the room, all eyes now fixated on the doorway as she tried to steady her racing heart. "What do you want?" she managed to say, the question a thread of fear woven tightly into urgency. And amid that electric silence, everything hung in the balance. Who was this new arrival, and what were the stakes for their fledgling community? The silence stretched in the room, taut like a wire ready to snap. Clara's mind raced as she searched that familiar face, a storm of emotions swirling within her. The man who had stepped into their fragile moment of hope was Noah, her estranged father. The years had etched lines of age around his eyes, but the gaze remained unmistakably his, a mix of regret and longing. "I'm here to talk," Noah said, breaking the stillness. His voice, though steady, carried a hint of the vulnerability that Clara had never known how to handle. David's posture shifted, an instinctive protective stance, his arms drawing defensively around Maya. Clara could see the community members processing this unexpected twist, their expressions a mix of confusion and curiosity. She could feel their discomfort like a weight pressing down on her. This wasn't just a family reunion, this was a reckoning that had the potential to unravel everything she and the others had begun to build. "Why now?" Clara found the strength to ask, the words falling from her lips like stones. "After all these years? You left and never looked back." Noah inhaled deeply, his shoulders slumping slightly. His hands trembled as he gripped the edges of the doorway. "I know I didn't take responsibility. I'm not here to make excuses. I came to make things right." David stepped in, his voice low yet firm. "Clara's been through a lot. We're building something important here. If you intend to disrupt it, you need to leave." Clara shook her head, even as anger and fear pulsed through her. "No, David. This is my fight too." She turned to her father, emotions crashing around her. "You don't get to just walk in and say you want to fix everything. Not after so long. What do you really want?" Noah glanced around the room, noting the tension coiling in the air like a tightly wound spring. "I want to help, with all of this," he replied, gesturing vaguely at the meeting, at the people he had abandoned for far too long. "I know I can't undo the past, but I want to give back to the community. I can help with resources, I have connections that can revive this place." Rachel scoffed from the back, her voice incredulous. "And why would we trust you?" "I'm hoping to earn it," Noah replied, his eyes searching Clara's face. "I can't change what's happened, but I can change what I do from here." Clara felt the room swirl as she absorbed his words. Did she dare to hope? Could this be a way for both her community and herself to heal? But in her heart, doubt lingered like a shadow. "Prove it," she said quietly, feeling the weight of her decision. "Prove you're here for real and not just for yourself. I can't afford more broken promises." Noah nodded slowly, a glimmer of understanding washing over his features. "I will, Clara. Just give me a chance. I'll do whatever it takes." As murmurs floated through the crowd, Clara felt the walls of her heart crack open just a little wider. Hope and caution danced within her. Before she could let the thought bloom, Maya leaned in, her expression earnest. "This could change everything for all of us," she said softly. "But it starts with trust, and that's not easily given." Clara turned to her friends, her heart pounding not just with anxiety but with a flicker of something new possibility. If they could hold each other accountable, perhaps they could find a way through. But would she remain strong enough to handle the past and the future all at once? As uncertainty loomed, Clara looked back at Noah, anticipation mingling with dread. What if this all falls apart again? She whispered, her voice trembling, and in that moment of vulnerability, another shadow fell over the room. A phone notification blared sharply, and Clara's heart sank. A message flashed across the screen, one that could change everything once again. Clara's heart raced as she glanced at her phone. Her breath hitched, and she felt a familiar cold gripping her chest. The notification was from the community board, the very one that Clara had spent countless hours building up, ensuring everyone received the news that could shape their fragile world. She opened the message, her fingers shaking. The announcement buzzed in her ear like a distant storm. There had been a decision made about the funding they desperately needed. A local investor had pulled support. The words blurred as Clara fought to comprehend the implications. Without that funding, everything they had been working for could collapse like a house of cards. Around her, the atmosphere shifted. The murmur of the crowd grew into a cacophony of muffled voices, each based on uncertainty and despair. David noticed her pale face and rushed to her side, worry etched on his brow. "Clara? What's wrong?" His concerned tone broke her trance. "It's the funding. They've pulled out, David," she whispered, still staring at the screen as if it held some solution. "It didn't." A gasp went through the room, and the tension doubled. Rachel's back straightened, her shoulders tense. "We can't let this happen," she blurted, her voice rising in urgency. "After everything, we can't just quit. We need to come together." Clara's heart ached. For the first time, she felt the precarious balance between despair and hope tilt dangerously. Was this what they had risked everything for? Just as they began to consider rebuilding their community, the very foundation they stood on seemed ready to be pulled from beneath them again. Noah stepped forward, his earlier resolve seeming to harden. "What if I can help with this?" he said, addressing the room. "I know this doesn't excuse the past, but I can reach out to my contacts. We can find other resources, alternatives. I'll do everything I can." Clara felt a rush of conflicting emotions. Part of her wanted to deny him the chance. He did, after all, represent a past she was still grappling with. But the other part recognized that the stakes were too high. This wasn't about her anymore. It was about the community. "Do you mean it?" Clara said, locking eyes with him, demanding sincerity. "Because if you're here just for yourself, to save face after years of silence, then you can't do this." "No," Noah replied firmly, "I want to show you that I'm serious. I want to be here. I want to be a part of this. Not for me, but for all of you." The sincerity in his voice made Clara's heart flutter and ache in equal measure. She felt the weight of the room shift once more as others turned their gaze to her, waiting. Waiting for her to decide. Maya inched closer. "What if this could be the chance we need? It may be worth taking the risk, Clara. We have to try." Every instinct told Clara to guard her heart, to turn away, yet hope stirred deep within. Could they hold together through this? Was Noah truly ready to change, or would his attempts crumble like everything else in her past? "I'll think about it," Clara finally said, her voice barely above a whisper, as the weight of the moment hung thick in the air. Relief met tension, but Clara knew this was just the beginning. They had more than just funding at stake now. They had trust. They had memories. They had a connection that might save them or shatter them again, and as Noah began exchanging numbers with Rachel, setting plans into motion, Clara's thoughts raced ahead, a mixture of dread and anticipation swirling anew. What if she opened the door, only to step into the dark again? Suddenly, her phone buzzed again. Another message, this one tinged with a foreboding sense. She hesitated, then clicked it open. Her stomach sank as she read the words. A familiar name flickered on the screen, threatening to pull her back into a chaos she thought she had escaped. Just when she thought she might finally have some control, a reminder of her fractured past loomed large. Clara stood in the community center, chaos swirling just beyond her grip. The room buzzed with anxiety, breaths catching as the realization of lost funding settled like a heavy cloud. Hope, once so radiant, flickered uncertainly, shadows creeping in. And then Noah, a man from her past who embodied all her fears, had walked in, challenging everything she had fought to build. "Just give me a chance," he had said. But how could she? How could she trust him when he had stepped away from her life so easily? The crowd's energy was a tumultuous sea, tides of anger and hope crashing against each other. Rachel's voice cut through the noise. "We can't give up now. We need to support each other." Clara looked at her determined face. The embers of their shared struggle sparked a flame within her heart. Taking a deep breath, Clara raised her hands, calling for silence. Eyes turned towards her, thick with confusion and expectation. "Noah," she said, her voice steady despite the storm swirling inside her, "you say you want to help. But this community has been through too much to just believe in words. What will your actions say?" His gaze didn't waver. "I want to just be a voice. I want to be a partner in this. Let's find those resources together." As Clara's heart beat steadily in her chest, she could feel the crowd draw closer. Their collective heartbeat was a reminder of their fragile unity. "If we're going to move forward, it's all or nothing. We need a clear plan. Accountability from each of us." David stepped in beside her, offering solidarity. "If we're operating under trust, that needs to be mutual. You're all in this together. Today marks the beginning." Clara glanced at Lucy, who watched wide-eyed, bubbling with youthful hope. The children were the heart of this struggle. Their innocence reminded Clara of what it meant to fight not just for survival but for joy, rebirth, and belonging. "And if you falter, we'll call you out," someone from the back called out. This time, it wasn't a challenge, it was a promise. Clara felt a renewed energy ripple through the crowd. "We are stronger together," Clara said. "If we want change, it starts now." "Noah, what do you have in mind?" A collective inhale filled the room as Noah sifted through his thoughts. "Let's start with outreach workshops. We share skills, engage local businesses, and invite collaboration. We look at every avenue." "Yes," Clara chimed, stepping closer to him. "Together, we can create a network to support one another." Lucy bounced on her toes, her little hand shooting up to contribute. "And we can share our talents. I can bake. We could have community bake sales to raise money." Her enthusiasm burst like fireworks, and others began to murmur ideas back and forth, inspiration igniting the room once more. As they brainstormed, Clara saw faces transforming, alarm turning to intrigue. They could seize this moment. They could craft hope from despair. After they brainstormed, Clara turned back to Noah. "Talk is powerful, but we need to act. Will you commit to this council and confronting your past?" "I will," he replied, voice filled with conviction. "I'm sorry for the pain I've caused. This is my opportunity to show I can be better for you and for this community." The collective sigh that followed was filled with cautious hope. Clara felt a sense of clarity, a rare moment of trust blooming amidst the uncertain shadows left behind. "And I'll stand with you," she said, determination blazing through her words. "We will hold each other accountable." One by one, hands raised in agreement, resolutions to support and follow through shifted the atmosphere once more. Clara's heart raced, warmth filling her chest. Was this really happening? "Let us not let fear stifle us," she urged, eyes surveying the people gathered. "Together we are creating the path. You won't be alone in this struggle." Little by little, those in the room began to smile, and with laughter, true laughter blooming like wildflowers. It was infectious, spreading like wildfire against all odds. The future cracked open like precious treasure, waiting to be uncovered. Clara looked to Lucy and Max, whose faces radiated pure joy, reflecting the shimmer of light and hope within her heart. They showed her what it truly was to forge connections, to stand amidst uncertainty and find joy in the small victories together. Clara took a step back and inhaled deeply. In that shared moment, she finally felt free. Together they would build a community, united and thriving. As the meeting closed, people crowded around Clara, voices buzzing like a hive, hearts beating in unison. "This is just the beginning," she repeated, feeling the ground of possibility shift beneath them. Hope replaced doubt, insistently demanding their effort. Yes, change was hard, but nothing on this earth was more potent than the resolve they ignited today. "Let us do this together," Clara called, hope shining in her eyes. And for the first time, she believed in the possibility of a brighter tomorrow. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories, leave a like now to feed the algorithm, comment your reactions and feelings about the ending, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.